a foreigner in the Philippines.
Sa kabriton og iyang asawang bulanod,
magtiayon sa lalawigan sa Bohol.
Ng isang dayuhan at ang kanyang asawang Pilipina.
7 taon ng mag-asawa sina Terence at Beth na nakatira ngayon sa lungsod ng Talibon, Bohol.
Don't forget to share and subscribe our YouTube channel.
Hey, welcome to a foreigner in the Philippines, over back home. And finally we're back home, though we've really been zonked out ever since we got home. Mostly taking a lot of naps and going down to, or is it up to Taliban. And something been crazy about going to Taliban is that it seems very crowded. Seems like a lot is about to happen in Taliban because businesses are opening, eating places are opening. It seems like somebody knows something that we don't know, but they're also building some kind of a very big convention hall at the back of the municipal hall, which I didn't even know about until I met with my friend Michael today. Every Sunday, whether you know it or not, and whether you're even interested, I meet on Sundays. I take the family to church and then I leave them off there, and then I go into Taliban. And I usually meet up with my friend Michael, who, even though he's from New Zealand, he actually was born just a few miles away from the place of my birth too. But of course we met only when he came to this country. In fact, he wrote to me on our channel from New Zealand, and he had seen the place where he had this house while they were having their own house built at Zamora. And he had this little place there with the family, with his Filipino family, and he'd seen it on one of our videos, so he'd written and said, hey, I recognized where you were because that's where I live when I'm there. And anyway, so subsequently we met, we found we had a lot in common. The big thing about having a friend who comes from where you were born is, well, in the case of Michael, he stayed in Manchester. That was our place of birth in the UK, and he stayed in Manchester for a lot longer than I did. I left home in Manchester when I was just 15 and a half, and I went into the army, which seemed like a good choice at the time, but I gotta admit, I spent a whole year, my first year in the army, I spent thinking it was going to get better, and then I spent a further 7.5 years learning that it wasn't. But mustn't be ungrateful, because I did learn to play the trombone, and when I came out of the army I immediately got a job and was quite gainfully employed as a musician. So, but anyway, back to the way that things are in Taliban. It does seem like things are developing a whole lot. Now, what do we hear around the world? We hear that people, actually this last weekend, not to get off the subject, but this weekend ending today has been one hell of a weekend for people raising their voices in protest. So there have been demonstrations which have been ill reported, because when you think about the lockdown, which is at the center of quite a lot of, in fact most of the demonstrations has been about protesting lockdown, and in a way the press and all of those bodies which we depend on for news, or used to depend on for honest independent news, don't do it anymore. So many hundreds, possibly millions of people worldwide have been demonstrating. But I'll let you look on YouTube to go into that, and just say that in contrast, Taliban is really ticking along quite well. All businesses are open, and only those that would fail normally because of bad business choices are the ones that are failing. So that's been really excellent. And there's all the signs in Taliban of that there is expansion coming. Taliban, whether you know it or not, is a port town. It has ferries coming in and out. It has possibly hundreds of the small fishing boats and small ferry boats. You don't get a big ferry boat to go out to the island from Taliban, okay? They're small vessels of the kind which you have seen me video. And they usually sit, I don't know, maybe 30 or maybe 40 people, and they go out to the smaller islands which are dotted around Taliban. Taliban is a place to be if you want to go to see other places, because from Taliban you can get to see quite a few of the other islands. And so there's this atmosphere of a kind of a bustling in Taliban, which always strikes me as that there's stuff coming. Things are coming. That by what was only the fish market and a place where they produced ice, right on the water, they are putting up a new building. I don't know what it is. It's a wood frame building, so of a temporary nature. But along that little stretch from the entrance to the port, which is a very small town affair, I've got to say, they've built like a little mini promenade, which they've done really very nicely. There are trees spaced out along that prom, and they built really nice seating around those, and a really nice wall with lampposts, and it really is very pretty. And that, I consider, is a time of is an indication of that there are other things coming. Am I happy about that? Well, it's a conflict for me, a dilemma. At one and the same time as I would love to see these improvements coming, I know that with the improvements come other stuff. More regulation will come, and at the moment less so in the last couple of years because things have been evolving. But about I don't know, it must be 4 years ago now. About 4 years ago I got a parking ticket when we had taken someone to the hospital in Tagbilaran, and I left the truck in a place where it wasn't supposed to be. But it's difficult to see it here because it's not as organized. So there's a little bit more guessing to it. Well, I guessed wrong and I got a ticket. I got a ticket in Tagbilaran. So put it into the glove box, which is what most of us do. But being having lived in the States, in California, I've always been conditioned to think that you don't leave those things untended to. So I actually took the ticket and I went into the transport office, LTO, and I said, I handed it to the lady that is there. There's a lady at the small desk, and when you go in there she'll tell you where you're going to have to go. and I showed her the ticket, and I'll never forget, she looked at the ticket with great interest, you know, like this, and turned it over as if she'd never seen one before. And coincidentally, that was because she never had seen one before, I don't think, because they still, to my knowledge, still do not give out parking tickets in Taliban. So she handed it back to me and said, yes, what? I said, well, how do I pay it? It was a parking ticket. It didn't tell me what the penalty was, what I had to pay, or any of those details like that, which are all very clearly marked on a British ticket or an American ticket. And there were none on this. So I'm just trying to find out what is happening. And she couldn't help me. She said, I'm sorry, I can't help you. We don't have parking tickets in Taliban. So, wasn't that wonderful? And I feel that my little assessment of Taliban is sadly going to change, because now we've had roads done, the roads going in and out to Taliban. We actually, from about 18 months ago, we have our one and only set of traffic lights. Yes, we have one set of traffic lights. What a bustling place this Taliban is. But they've done a really nice, beautiful entrance to the port. All of the concrete work has been done, it's been extended, it's been widened, and takes right along. They've been building for the last 7 years that I know. They've been building a marketplace which is down in Itafi, and even Itafi is getting a facelift. They've spent several million pesos on the old Catholic church down there, and so they're having their changes too. But looking at Taliban, it's changing, and I wish it wasn't. We do have what are called, in the Philippines, what are called traffic enforcers, but they don't enforce anything other than to tell you, can you move it over there or move it here, and they're always very, to me anyway, they're always very reasonable. If I say I'm just waiting for my wife in Jollibee, they'll say, oh, okay, well, move it after that, sir. And how can I complain? So all of that is evolving, and sad to say, it will not be an improvement, I feel. That's my sad assessment of it. It will lose that small town feel. But now I see lots and lots of new cars. A pickup truck is very popular, of all sizes, from the small multicab, which is like Little Red, which if you've been with us for a while, you know what Little Red looks like, and you'll know what Big Blue looks like, which is the next size up. And then we've got our, I still think of it as a new truck, but of course it's not. We've had it now, we've had our Ford Raptor for 2 years, and gosh, wasn't that a disturbing piece of news for a lot of people. They couldn't quite get used to the fact that we had saved every penny that we made with our AdSense, and been eating very simple food in order to be able to afford that. But that's what we did. So life is changing slightly, but I see lots of businesses opening up. We used to have just Videsto, and that was where we always went. There was also Chelans, which was very nice ambience. You went into it and it actually was sitting out, the outer part of that was on the water. So you went out onto like a big pier with tables and chairs, and it was always badly run, I think, poorly run. It was as if they'd lost interest in it. So eventually they closed, which is a great shame because it should have been a really wonderful restaurant. We took people there who came to visit us because the ambience was so good. You looked out onto the ocean. Well, that's gone. Vedasto, happy to say, is for me the best restaurant overall. It has very good menu, wonderful people running it. That's I call her Daddy, and Faye, the waitress, and there's another waitress and a cook and everything, and they're just all wonderful people, and they know me very well. So as soon as I go in, they pretty well know that it's a cup of coffee on the table, and that's where I meet with my friend Michael. And then there's PP Coffee, which a lot of people really like. I went in there today as a special treat because I was by myself, and I went in specially to clean the truck, which is well, what can I say about cleaning our truck? One trip back and forth after I've cleaned it, it will look as if it had never been cleaned because we've got mud on several really deep patches going down to the main road, so it gets muddied up again. I remember that when I was chatting to one of the inspectors of the police force, and he said, now we know who drives the dirty Raptor. It's not an enviable reputation, is it? Who are you? Well, I drive the dirty Raptor. Oh, really? Now we know. So, that's my little chat about that little town that we live close to, Taliban. It's doing pretty good, and the only time that we're penalised, other than wearing a mask most of the time, we don't see, there's not a huge police presence, so I never feel bothered or harassed like I used to feel a lot in the US as a motorist. In the UK, I always felt very harassed there because as a musician I was coming home late at night, and they tend to have, I don't know how legal they are, but they tend to have checkpoints where they stop you and just ask you for your documents, and if they feel like it and don't like your face, which with a face like mine might be a distinct possibility, they can inspect your car, and if you don't have tread on your tyres enough, it can get very difficult. A similar situation in the US as well, that you can be a little bit concerned, and rightly so, if the police are trailing behind you. Here, I never get that. I never feel harassed by the police, hardly ever see them. Been stopped a couple of times at the checkpoint for this pandemic, but never harassed, always very politely. And we have invited the police to put in an appearance at some of the projects that we've done for the community, and they've been very willing to do that, and they've sent often as many as 8 or 10 police officers, and they've come along and very happily done an hour or a couple of hours painting, and they've painted the house for us. So that's the house that we've been building, by the way. So all in all, we're not really feeling any great restrictions, and we'll live in hope that, if anything, they're going to ease up even more. Well, that's a lot of meandering, which is probably enough. So thanks for looking in, and we're very glad to be home, and I'll be doing an update on what's been happening, what we came to the end of, and what we're now looking forward to doing on another video. Thank you for being with me. Bye for now.